Hey, what's up guys? Smiley with Parallel Defense. Thank you guys so much for clicking on this video. Today we're going to be reviewing something that I've been wanting to review for a long time, but I'm excited to jump into it. We'll be reviewing the Pandoras box, or the PB3 from Lead&steel. This is Lead&steel's first micro red dot sight. It has come to the market, I'll say about 2 months ago from my memory, and it's coming in at an MSRP at $399. We are going to dive into the nitty gritty, pretty much go over all the features that I've seen, and we're going to talk a little bit about my opinion on it. But before we jump into that, what do I think about the optic? Just so you guys can click away from the video so I can keep your attention. I do think it is a perfect buy. I think for the price that it's coming in at, that there are not many competitors that can give you what you are getting from this optic here. And I think it would be an awesome piece of your collection, and I definitely think you should buy it. So now let's go ahead and jump into the nitty gritty of it. So, excuse me. The Lead&steel PB3 is a closed emitter optic. I want to point out some really big things first, and then we'll go ahead and dial it down from there. When I received the optic, I originally was like, dang, this thing is beautiful, but something was kind of sticking out to me. It was different from all the other closed emitters that I have shot or reviewed on this channel before. And that was the front and the rear of the actual optic itself. There were 2 screws at the top on the front and the back, and it looked like a piece of metal kind of added to it. So after looking at it, I was like, that looks somewhat reinforced. Then Lead&steel released their video speaking on it, and that's exactly what it is. It's essentially added reinforcement to an already rugged optic. If you guys are not familiar with the closed emitter realm, they are naturally by nature more rugged optics than your open emitter optics out there. But there have been issues on the market lately where people's front glass and rear glass are breaking and falling out of the optic body themselves. So what Lead&steel did was they created more reinforcement. They added a piece of metal to the front and the back of the optic itself to ensure that not only is the adhesive going to keep it in, but these 2 pieces of metals are going to sandwich the glass into the optic itself. So now you have that added reinforcement, and you're not going to have to worry, or you're going to have less worry about them falling out. Really cool thing about this optic too is I believe it's one of 2 nitrogen purged optics. So when it comes to rain or fog, you're not going to have that much of an issue. There have been showings of other optics that have claims for this, that they have moisture on the inside of their optic. Nobody wants that. I did shoot this in the rain. You guys should have seen that footage earlier. And I can report here there was no moisture in the optic at all, which was good for me to see. But moving forward from there, we're going to talk about some of the features on this, and then we're going to dive into some of like the generic stuff that you guys typically see. So we'll go off of what I think were big features, and we'll kind of trickle it down from there. One of the other features that you guys notice, or that you could notice whenever you pick one up, is the second you present, you're gaining a lot of information. You're like, dang, that's a lot coming in. I can see a lot. It's because the window size is larger. Lead&steel quotes it to be 30% larger than the Acro window. The Acro, the Kraken, the Gideon, a lot of the other optics out there have very similar shapes, where you have your optic body, and then you have a body on the inside, and then you have your glass. And that takes away from your actual window itself. So this is quoted to be 30% larger. I believe the PB3, the RTF from Viridian, and the Steiner have similar sizes, but I think this is the largest one from what I'm seeing. So that's amazing because now you grasp all that information in. A larger window means more information. That's good for you to shoot. The dot itself is a 3 MOA, super crisp dot. I can't explain how clear the glass and the dot were at first presentation. When I went to go shoot, I was like, dang, it was giving me LCO vibes. And that's, if you guys know, LCO has one of the crisper dots on the market. And that was beautiful for me to see. So I was super excited with that. So 30% larger window, you have your 2 reinforcements. Those were for me the 2 biggest things that I saw that kind of wowed me. But moving on from there, your controls to make the optic brighter or lower, they're recessed and they're at the top. So shout out to them, because from a manufacturer's perspective, they thought about the consumers a lot. When people are messing with their optics, a lot of people like to rack off the side, or they grip their optic and then they pull it back to manipulate the slide. And sometimes doing that, they can increase or decrease the brightness setting, and that's not really fun for most people. So what they did was they put it on top and they recessed it. So instead of it being on top of the optic and all the way on top to where you can grab it when you're doing this, and you can higher the setting or lower it, once you grab it like this, 1, you're not going to be able to raise it or lower it from here. 2, it's at the top. So most people, they have to change their optic setting like this or like this, something weird on one of the sides, depending on which side your buttons are on. This being on top, You just come right to that middle point of it and you can change your brightness setting, which is super nice. Not something that many people think of, not something I thought of when I thought of it. I was like, I typically don't have an issue doing this, but it is a lot nicer for me to just come on top with my hand and raise or lower the setting. There are 10 brightness settings, 3 night vision. I was able to record some night vision stuff, not shooting under it, kind of just showing you guys what it looks like. Stopping from this review real quick, kind of talking about night vision setting for just a second. When you guys have night vision, it is really, really nice to have something that goes over the front lens. So I use an iris, which controls the amount of light that goes into the night vision. You can open it all the way up, which will allow a flood of light, or you can close it. When you're shooting pistol optics, it's really nice because you can control, like I said, how much. So on the video, you'll see that I open it all the way up and you can see kind of a flood, like there's a lot of light going in there, which could be messing with your visual of the optic. But once you start dialing it down, you're going to start grasping that crisp dot that they have. All 3 night vision settings worked. I believe night vision setting 2 worked for what I was doing. Moving back to the other battery settings, it does run on a CR2032, which is a standard. You get 30,000 hours battery life, but there's no shake awake. Now let's talk about that, because I've done reviews before and I've told you that shake awake is kind of a big thing for me. But we'll talk about this. It is a 30,000 hours on constant at a middle setting. That for me is not really a no-go. It's just gonna tell me to change my batteries every couple of months. So every 6 months, I don't really have mine on the 5 setting. I'm kind of working at the 6, so it's gonna have to be sooner. Just put it in your calendar, mark it. But the cool thing about Lead&steel is they definitely said that in future generations of this, that they are going to incorporate, or they potentially will incorporate, shake awake settings. So if you're someone where shake awake's a no-go for you and you're really pissed off because you wanted it, don't be upset, because it eventually is coming to you soon. But the actual settings themselves are crazy. It goes up to what they consider nuclear bright, which is nice because I've caught that before with some settings that it doesn't get bright enough for me in an outside setting. So the brightness settings are amazing. I had no issues with those. Other things about the optic body itself is they added serrations to the edges. Now, with that, when people are racking, I am someone who comes on the face of my actual optic, and that's where I rack it off of. Some people like to grip on the top. Now, you may not notice it. If you have an optic that's slick, you may not be able to grip it as fast, but with the serrations, you have that pressure and you have that point to actually grip it itself. So that was a nice, again, feature from the manufacturer. Thank you, Lead&steel, for thinking about people and kind of diving into the shooter more and understanding what we're doing and fixing those gaps that some people may not see themselves. The battery cap is on the side. They spoke about it being beveled, so you don't have an issue when you're placing it in your holster. A lot of cool features with that. But now let's just talk about my opinion when shooting it. I loved it. There was nothing that I seen. And typically when I'm shooting these optics, I'm looking for cons, right? Because a lot of these companies do what they need to do to give you all the pros, but let me see some cons. And I didn't have any cons shooting it. The dot's super crisp. The weight's not super heavy. The window was large. Like it's really difficult for me to think of things that kind of, I was like, I didn't like. Initially, after my first, I'll say 100 rounds, there is this glare coating on the front. It is orange, it's a tint. While I was shooting my first 100 rounds, I did notice as in recoil I was coming up and down, you can see the glare. It was like an orange flash on the inside. That did concern me initially, but it went away. So I'm not sure if it was the lighting condition I was in or the iPro I was using, but every 100 or all the rounds after that, I shot about 500. I didn't see it any at all. So I just have no idea what that initial issue was, but I no longer have it. So there's nothing for me to report there. It was gone. I reached out to Lead&steel. I think it was me. I think it was shooter error for the most part. I don't think it was the optics issue. It does use a T2 footprint, which thank God, because I'm tired of trying to go through other companies and get proprietary plates. That is not what the community likes. Excuse me. We want something that we can just go and purchase. The cool thing about Lead&steel too is they kind of cover themselves with a blanket statement. It fits most acro plate. People, please do your research, buy good plates, buy good products. If you go buy a cheap acro plate off of the internet, I don't expect Lead&steel to cover it. Not sure if they do, not sure if they don't. I just wouldn't buy a cheap plate and then say, hey, can you fix this for me? Because I didn't buy a quality plate. I have mine mounted here on my Springfield Armory Echelon. Issue I had with the Echelon specifically was the plate is meant for an acro. This is slightly bigger than the acro, so when I placed it on there, the optic cut is slightly smaller than the optic itself. So I did have 1 point of rubbing with the left side of my slide and the optic. Nothing major. You can see it if you like look at it. If you're looking for it, you can see that it's there, but nothing that bothered me. Tightened it with Loctite, no issues. It wasn't coming loose, so I was happy there. Besides that, there's not much for me to report. I'm looking at my notes, sorry. It's a 7075 T6 housing. We all like that. The optic was phenomenal. There's not much that I can say bad about it. And then for the price, $400, and I believe it even dropped under $400. I want to say it was like $350 or $325 over the holidays. You're getting the best bang for your buck. I don't see any other competitors out there being able to compete with this. Your Acros, your Steiners. Somebody said they saw a Steiner for $400 on Amazon during the holidays, and it went right back up. So when you're looking for actual optics, and I've even argued with friends, I do think currently this is the best the best miniature closed emitter optic on the market currently for the price. I don't think you can go wrong. Lead&steel knocked it out the park with this. It does come in two colors. You have the black, you have the flat dark earth, or the FDE, the tan, if you will. And it's great. I don't really have much to report from there. If you guys have questions, drop them. If you have concerns, drop them. Ask whatever you have. Please share this to a friend. Like, comment. If you're not subscribed, subscribe. I'm sure some of you guys that have echelons are probably going to ask. This is an FDES barrel. I believe he does have them on his site. Very, very nice, very aesthetically pleasing. They do have good groupings. I didn't put it on an MOA, so I can't tell you what the actual groupings are, the numerical number, but I didn't have any issue shooting it. But that's it. You guys will be seeing me at SHOT Show 2024, so be ready for that. Like, comment, subscribe again. If you have questions, drop them. You guys have a good day.